the IBDS program and Sage Hill Community Futures, helping them just find facilitators and managing kind of this virtual event coordination. Before we get started, I just want to read a land acknowledgement. As we gather here today, we acknowledge that we are on Treaty 6 territory and homeland of the Métis. We pay our respect to the First Nation and Métis ancestors of this place and reaffirm our relationship with one another. Today, we have Sabrina Tabler with us again. She is the owner of Grace Consulting, based out of Saskatoon. And Sabrina has been a facilitator for us numerous times. And this month, she has been doing a branding series. So a few weeks ago, we had, what was that one now?
A social media plan.
I had to think too. Thank you. I'm like, I have this. And then today is What a Brand. And then on May 30th, we have Implementing a Refined Brand. And, it's a really nice 3-part series because it kind of helps you as the participant kind of understand all these branding components and kind of what you may or may not feel that you can move forward with in your own business or the organization that you're representing today. So just one last thing I want to say is at the end of this session, there is a survey that will pop up automatically in Zoom, and we sure would appreciate you to just take 2 seconds to fill it out. It helps us prepare for the next year and some of the training opportunities that we have and that we will be launching soon. So with that being said, over to you, Jenny.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jenny Glessman, and I work with the Sage Hill Community Futures Office. We're excited to be offering the IBDS series of workshops, and we're excited to have Sabrina back talking about what is a brand. So we're all going to sit back and learn what it is and why it's so important for us. So with that, instead of listening to me, we're going to turn it over to Sabrina and let her tell us about herself and about her business, and let us all learn about a brand today.
Great. Well, thank you both, Jessica and Jenny. I love coming on here and doing these webinars. It's super fun. And I love nothing more than actually talking about branding. So this will be a fun one today. Like Jessica said, I had done a social media one a couple of weeks ago, part of a 3-part series. And then in a couple of weeks, we're going to take all of the information that you learned today and then actually learn about the implementation, because they are 2 parts. So we're just going to dive in. I'll tell you a little bit about myself. So my name is Sabrina. I'm the founder of Grace Consulting, which is a brand and marketing consulting company. And I like to push traditional marketing boundaries. One of my greatest accolades is being a boy mama. I had a wonderful Mother's Day. Watching my boys play sports is one of my favorite things to do. So football and soccer all on Mother's Day. It was wonderful. Things that I cannot live without. If you've been on one of my presentations before, I love to share that chocolate and nachos are like 2 must-haves. And I consider them actually like food groups, like they need to be in my diet. And something that I'm the most passionate about is when businesses look and feel their absolute best, because I feel when that is happening, then they thrive because of it. Okay, so things we're going to cover today: what a brand is, the difference between branding and marketing, because that can often be confused between the two, why branding is important, why consistency with your branding is critical, not just important, and what a brand strategy is. So first off, what is a brand? So I'm going to break down between a brand and a market. So your brand is who you are, how you make people feel, the relationships that you have with both your clients, with your friends, with your family. All of that is taken into consideration in your brand. It's your aura, your presence, that vibe that you give off with your company. And it also is very much your values, your mission, and your vision. So your market is where you promote your business. So it's, can be your physical location. It's where your customers are. And the demand for your product and service determines your market. So being clear about who you are, what you stand for, and why people should choose you is the base of your brand. You want to know what motivates them, what's unique to you, and the things that you offer. So I wanted to just go over a few brands, and I'm just going to put up a few of the images. They're pretty well-known brands. And I want you to take note of how you feel inside and when you see some of these brands. So you could have had really positive experiences with these. There could be like something that pops into your mind initially. This one in particular, what comes to mind for me is my boys. They love Adidas. And so I immediately think of them. This one is a pretty iconic brand. There could be, depending on your interaction with certain products, there could be frustration. I know this one particularly gives me frustration. I have to use some Microsoft products every once in a while, and they drive me crazy. This one we are on today, so it adds a ton of value. TikTok can elicit all kinds of emotions. I love it and hate it. I think the funny videos on it are great. Don't love that my boys like to be on it. And just take note whether you recognize them as well, like immediately, or whether you're like, oh, what is that one? And just some emotions around it. Certain things can just elicit immediate emotions. So that's how powerful a brand can be. So what is branding? So the difference between a brand is the personality. Branding is the collateral that goes along with it and kind of what you do to promote your business with it. So branding is your visual identity. So that's your logo, your color palette, your fonts, also your messaging. So it's your mission, why you do the business that you do, what you're passionate about. It's your tone, so your voice and the essence about your business. So some businesses can have a really lighthearted tone to them. Some businesses can be a little bit more professional, rigid maybe would be another term. And one isn't better than the other. It's just, it has to reflect the most powerful and effective brands reflect you as the individual owner and all of your employees as well. So it's your graphics and your images. It can be your packaging, your storefront, and your displays. And then marketing. So the difference between them, again, is then the marketing is the distribution of the branding. So it's the platforms that you use to propel your brand. So it can be social media, email campaigns, your website, any print material, maybe it's billboards or radio ads or TV advertising. So it's the medium that you push your brand out. Branding is more of your business's personality, and marketing is how you share that your business's personality with the world. Branding is your story. So it's the background of why your business exists, who you are, and then marketing tells your story. Branding can be more artistic and heart-centered with visuals, and it elicits feelings, whereas marketing is more logistic and action-based. So it lets people know about you, where to find you, what the price is, how to purchase, and it speaks to the mind, not necessarily the heart, where branding gets to the heart. So part of the visual identity is determining your colors, so your color palette. And I wanted to bring this up to show you this color emotion guide, which I think is really fun because it shows a bunch of different brands and the colors that go along with them. So some of the brands, I'll just pull out one of them, like well, Coca-Cola. So that's a pretty well-known brand, and it is red. So it is associated with excitement and boldness. Whereas then some of the other ones, like the purple, is more creative and wise. And then there's green is associated with peaceful and health. Gray is with balance and calmness. So immediately the color itself can elicit a certain feeling and along with it. So you want to make sure that you are taking that into consideration when you're looking at your color palette. And then there's all kinds of different color pairing theories. So whether you put a bunch of colors within the same palette together, or whether you want to mix them up. So there's lots of things to consider. It's not just like, oh yeah, I'll get a few colors, this should be fine, and then moving on. So there's some actual depth to it. So these are some examples of how you can bring colors together that have a base color and then different colors that you can add in. So here is an example of a palette that starts with an inspiration photo, which I often encourage my clients to do. And then there's different variations that you can pull together. And then inspiration words. So what does this, how does this make you feel? Like what inspiring words come up? So this one is trendy, bright, natural, neutral. Pardon me. This one is more, it could be welcoming, nature, outdoors, earthy, rooted, strong, with the mountains in the background. So it's always nice to have kind of that, and it gives you an essence right away with those colors and that inspiration photo. And I find often clients will say, yes, that's exactly kind of the feeling that I want to bring forth in my business, or no, that's not at all what I'm after. So another fun one can be like, this one is more retro, boho, trendy, lighthearted, free-spirited. So you can see how in those 3 different images, how different the vibe can be. And then we get into logo and typography. So this is the exact same business, and we went through lots of different variations of their logo. So you can see how just changing the font and the colors and the just the way that the logo flows can be very, very different, and it can elicit an immediately different feel to the business. So why is branding important, and why is it the first thing that needs to be done before you head into marketing? Because people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. So they want to know what it is behind the scenes that's happening in your business, and the essence of why it is that you do that, what you do, why you're passionate about it. And they want to work for and buy from a brand that they trust. So even in attracting employees, you want a strong brand in your business. Our values shape our brand and our business. And our customer, our best customer, is actually ourselves. So when you look at why you started your business and what your business provides, it's usually very reflective of you. So what you want to attract back to you is actually yourself. So use yourself as your marketing tool. So getting into a little bit of brand consistency and why it is absolutely critical. So you want brand consistency for recognition. So if you have varying variations of a logo, or you start to use different colors all over the place when you're doing any of your marketing, you're not going to have as high of recognition or recall. And anytime that your brand is out there and it's seen and heard over and over, it stays top of mind. So it's a reminder. And then it just continues to reinforce it. When they start to see those same colors and that same packaging, regardless of where they see your brand, whether it's in print or online, then it starts to just reinforce that brand over and over again. So what is brand consistency? So this is where you want to guard your brand. This is why Apple is one of the most powerful brands. Can you imagine if you started to see an Apple logo that was red and they started talking, like branching off into other areas, into clothing and different things that are not their main market? It would feel really odd. Maybe they start making food because they're an Apple product and they think, oh, that would be cool. Like it just would start deviating from what their brand is. If they started offering low-end products at a hugely discounted rate, their brand would completely diminish immediately. So this is extreme about veering off brand, but you kind of get the idea when you stay on brand, how powerful it can be. And it doesn't seem like it should matter whether the colors are slightly off or the different sizes or your tagline isn't right, but all of that really does matter. So I wanted to show you just some fun taglines that I'm sure you can recognize pretty easily. So MasterCard, there are some things money can't buy. For everything else, there's MasterCard. So there's some that are so catchy that even my boys will start to repeat, even as young as, I think it was 3, that my one son could recall the Scotiabank one. Nike, just do it. Capital One, what's in your wallet, and then Kellogg's Rice Krispies, which is one of my favorite, the Snap, Crackle, Pop. So things that just start to stick. So that makes a really catchy tagline when people remember it. So what is brand strategy then? So there's brand, there's branding, and then there's brand strategy. So it's pulling it all together and really diving into deep into what is the purpose of your business. Why did you start it? What's the vision? What do you want? What change do you want to see in the world? Where are you headed with your business? I think a lot of people just dive in and they just think, oh, I'm just going to start this and we'll go from there. But it's more about why you exist beyond just making money, because that's just inevitable. All businesses are in the business to make money. Otherwise, it would be called a hobby. And you want to have that clear vision and measurable goals. So where you're headed with your business, and people want to know that. They want to feel like they're on that journey with you. And what is your brand personality? So you could be in a very saturated market. So people want to know what makes you stand out in amongst a sea of other people doing maybe the exact same thing as you. And then you want to determine what your client pain points are, like the real pain points for them, and how you can solve them. Ultimately, you want to be able to transform their lives with what you offer. So not just, you're not just offering any old product or service, you actually want to be able to affect their life in a really positive way with what you offer. And how can you bring value to their lives and connect on that emotional level? So again, they're not just taking home this new product or buying a product online or buying a, consulting or purchase or anything. They want to connect with you on that emotional level. That's when a brand has its most value and effect. So just a little recap and a reminder that a brand is who you are and what you value. Strong brands reflect this in their visuals and messaging. And then that brand conveys your mission and passion. And then the consistency equals trust, which then ultimately equals a purchase. And without a brand strategy, you can't effectively then go on to market your business on any platform. So that is a must-have. So I wanted to show you some fun examples of some brand kits that I have done. And so this particular client needed everything, needed a logo, needed a color palette, needed a brand essence built for her. So this is what we came up with. And typography, all of that too. So all of her fonts. And she is a health and wellness coach. This is another client of mine that we did. She needed a logo, color palette, fonts, all of that as well, and a real essence of what her business is all about. So right away, even from her logo, you can get a sense, you know, just even with the little heart tagged onto the end, that is 1000% her and her business. And then this one may look familiar to someone on this call today. And yeah, so we did a new logo, color palette, and the essence of her business as well, which she had a great start to, had done some brand development. It just needed to tie together then the visual components for her. And then this client, they came to me with an already established logo, but they really needed to bring in the values of their business and what their business is all about. And they needed a color palette brought together. They needed the font development as well, because they were kind of all over the map with that. So sometimes doing like a brand audit, I will do with clients where I will go through and look at all the different platforms, all the marketing that they're doing, and spot the inconsistencies and show them how it could be brought together and infused a little bit more solidified. This is also another client that had a logo already developed, but needed a brand refresh. So just needed a brand new color palette and some font consistency as well. And then just really, we dove into the essence of her business and the why behind what she does. Okay, so I've thrown a lot at you. There are so many options when it comes to branding, marketing, all of that. And it can be scary, and you could feel like you're investing a lot of money and you don't want to make the wrong decision. So what do you do with, especially in the digital world now? There's so many different places that you can advertise, and lots of different things that you can do in terms of developing your brand now that didn't exist before, like Canva. Canva is a wonderful tool, but can also be a bit of a brand nightmare, so to speak, because there's so many options that it can be really easy to veer off brand very, very easily, especially any of us that love visuals and graphics, because then it's like, oh, this looks fun. This looks fun. And then all of a sudden your brand is a complete mess because you've veered off in several different directions and it no longer reflects you. You don't even remember what your colors or your logo or anything were originally. And then you get into all of the platforms. So I showed a few of them in those logos. So LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and then you get into funnels and email newsletters and paid ads and search engine optimization. There's a lot to think about and a lot that your brand infuses into. I will get more into all of that and where you implement your brand in a couple weeks. So I won't go into that too much, but I empathize. It's a lot to think of, and it's a lot to know what to do with. So this is where I can come in. So this might be you. You're extremely passionate about what you do. You crave that alignment and that consistency. You're hesitant, or you just have that lack of time to brand and market your business because you're doing what your business is instead of doing the brand and marketing. I often think of myself, when I started my business, there was no chance that I was going to do any of my bookkeeping or accounting. Even though I could, I just did not want to spend my time doing that type of work. So I outsourced it. It's no different when it comes to brand and marketing. I think as especially for solopreneurs, that can often be the case, that we are the bookkeeper and the accountant and the marketer and the brand consultant and the everything. but I would highly encourage you to reach out and have that outsourced. It's also good to have that outside perspective when you're in your own business. It's like the old saying of you can't see the label when you're inside the bottle. So it's hard to really take a step back and look at your business from an objective standpoint. And you may think that other businesses have it all together, and they don't. They really don't. They've done, probably the ones that look like they do have done the work of setting up a really consistent brand. So this can leave you very overwhelmed for your lack of action because you just don't know what step to take. You can be frustrated and your motivation can start to dwindle because you don't even know what to do next. So this is where I developed a more simplistic marketing strategy. So I have a marketing degree. I'm educated in all the complex strategies, but I feel like it can be the more simplified, the better. And so that's what I like to infuse. And I like to start with just the owner of the business and marketing who you are as a person, because really the only unique thing in this world is you. So you could be a coach, you could be a hairstylist, you could be one of many in an industry, but the one thing that sets you apart is you. So you're your greatest marketing asset. So it's finding what your talents are and how you're impacting the world with what you do. So when your brand is effective and you've nailed it, your marketing then will start to feel effortless. Your sales start to take off because you're attracting the right people, and your business just thrives, all from being authentic and real, and sometimes vulnerable in implementing this strategy. And does it seem too easy? If you're still not sure, I would love to jump on a call anytime and talk more through it. With an effective brand, your best light is shone through. You're way more effective. You have exponential growth in your business, and you're just going to feel more fulfilled. When you have a brand that you're so proud of, you want to show it everywhere. So today I'm offering a 50% off of a brand development. So we can either do a brand refresh or a complete brand development from the ground up. And my tagline is between good and great, there's grace. So if you want to take your business from good to great, I would love to be that part in between. So again, offering that 50% off for those of you today. You can just put your email address into the chat and reach out to me anytime, even if you want to just do a quick consult. I love to talk about all things brand related and would love to help you out in any way. So thank you so much. I'll leave some time for questions because I always think.
And that's wonderful. We actually have a couple already in the chat. If anybody wants to start leaving them in there, we can go. The first one says, when making posters for advertising events, for example, should you be using the same colors and fonts, etc.?
Yes, always, 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 always. Yeah, there's nothing.
I'm guilty. They all look so nice and you start picking and choosing. It's okay, I'll make that note.
The second question is, where would you suggest starting when taking over an established business that has no brand consistency?
Oh, that's like gold. So you want to start with just writing down keywords with how you want the business to be projected. So how do you want your customers to feel? So I talked a lot about the feel and the essence. So what is it that you're providing and how do you want them to feel? So start from there and then kind of work backwards in what the mission and the vision is for the company, kind of go more broad picture, and then start to get really granular from there. Because once you have those bigger pieces figured out, then you'll know how to plug in the brand components. So then once you know how you want to make them feel, what it is that you're offering, where it is that you're headed with your business, and then go through your core values, then you will have a good picture of, then the color scheme will feel a lot easier. You'll be able to get those inspiration photos. And then you can go from that into developing a logo. And then from there, you have that as your brand kit and your brand guidelines, and you stick to it with everything that you produce from there. So when I start with a client, I have a brand development questionnaire. That's the first thing that I do. And it goes through everything from what colors do you love? What colors do you hate? It goes into what are your core values? How do you want people to feel? Like I go deep in there, because that's what you want to draw out and reflect in your business. That was a really long way of saying where to start. Maybe I've confused you now.
You know what? I have to just chime in and just say, I've worked with you, and I thought that I could do it myself. I thought, because I work in Canva all the time, this is going to be easy. But the thing is that the colors that I personally like are not suitable for my business or where I want it to be. So it's a real head game of, oh, well, I thought I liked that, but that doesn't really suit what I'm trying to do. Mm-hmm. And then I also made the mistakes of, coming up with a logo before ever even thinking about the colors, the identity, all of that. So then you ended up creating another logo for me. So in my experience, I just think, yes, something like this is a little bit pricey, but you can't move forward with a website because they're going to ask you all those same questions. And at some point, somebody's going to have to help you with that. Mm-hmm. And you can't even, when you're managing your own social media, nothing is going to be consistent because you haven't invested the time. So it's completely my recommendation to work with someone like yourself, just to get things like the foundations built. Yeah. And then you can move forward, because you might think, oh, I'm good with color and design and all that. But when you're faced with palettes mm-hmm. of colors and you have to narrow it down to 4 or 5, I mean, it's overwhelming. I mean, it's crazy. So I, just from personal experience, it used to be, oh, just get a business card. Yeah, you don't just get a business card. Mm-hmm. Work with a brand expert to figure out, number one, if you need a business card, but just help design that whole piece.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're not alone in that there. And I think, like I mentioned with Canva and the more simplified tools that are out there now, they're wonderful, but it can open up a bit of a can of worms. And especially people that are creative and do think like, oh, I can totally do this on my own, but they forget the layer that I just described is the core values and the essence that you're trying to create. So you can start going crazy with all the different colors and fonts. And like you said too, the ones that you like personally might not be the ones that reflect your business the best and where you're headed with it. But if you haven't thought about what it is that the core values of your business and where you're headed with your business and how that can be perceived, then you're just going to come up with any kind of colors, and it might not be the best choice for where you're headed. Yeah.
There was just one more comment or question that says, so Canva has a branding section now. Is it worth putting all of your fonts, etc., into that?
1,000%.
Yeah. I know from Sage Hill's point of view, it makes it so easy. Now it's all there. I don't got to think about what is our font, where's my logo, and it shows me, we've tagged it because Sage Hill has a whole realm of other colors to go with our main color, and they're there. I don't got to think about it if it's one I need or not, or
That is
it's
a
wonderful.
very big piece. That is actually a little sneak peek into
Next week's.
yeah, because that is a trick to keep you on brand, is to put those right into Canva so that you don't have to have that guessing game and or temptation to veer off. It's like, no, I'll stick with this. And that doesn't mean that it has to be like crazy rigid, which is why we do a color palette. And there can be a little bit of, you know, wiggle room in there. And like even my brand has kind of evolved, which brands do. They evolve and they change a little bit over time, which is sometimes why a brand refresh needs to be done, where it's like, okay, you know what, these colors actually, they suited my business when I started, but it does not reflect where my business is right now or where it's headed. So that's why it's important to kind of assess every once in a while in your business. But then also color palettes can kind of evolve over time. I have a client that I work with that it just all of a sudden the color palette was no longer looking reflecting what she wanted. She had a lot of like really light pinks and light tones, and she wanted a more earthy, rooted, grounded. So we just started infusing some like deeper greens and like some brown into her color palette very subtly. Like it wasn't like a big, this is a new brand, but you can start to see it in her social media, all of a sudden, this like evolution of her brand. So, yeah.
I was just wondering, Sabrina, so if somebody's working with someone like yourself or an agency, or maybe they already have, you know, a brand strategy for the organization that they work for, how do they translate the colors into Canva? Because they're not the same.
Oh,
like the numbers, like the CM or whatever, K or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
They don't match.
So you can put the exact hex value. If you have the hex value, you can put that into Canva. In like when you go to change the color, it'll give you the little color thingy, and then you can put the hex value right in there. And then it should be the exact color in there.
Okay. I'm finding it is not. So I'm just curious. Yeah, so I was just curious if that was just because there's Pantone colors and then there's hex code, you know, hex value. So do they all translate into Canva?
So, okay. So I think I know what you mean. So there is a big range that can happen in color, whether it's in digital or whether it's in print, and whether it's on a screen versus presentation to digital media to print can all vary. And that does not matter if you have the exact Pantone colors, the CMYK, the like all the hex values, all of that, you could have the exact same, and they'll have this slight variation that could be due to the printer. Like there's any number of it actually drives us brand consultants bonkers, because we want it to be perfect and we want it to be reflecting exactly the same. So there are some like tricks, and I know Canva has gotten a lot better with their print ones. So you can actually, when you download the file, you can choose a print ready file. And it will allow you to choose either the CMYK or the RGB, and the CMYK is for print, and it will give you a more reflective color palette, and it should match a little better.
I know. Are you talking about, Jessica, the color of the Community Futures? That green is that green. I think we're the only all over that, but it is such a hard color to match. And even when we're getting it printed on something, you don't know how many times we say to people, make sure you've used the numbers, because it is. And if it doesn't, it comes out, I don't want to say, but
yellowy,
it looks like it almost looks like like I'm a farm girl, so it kind of looking like calf shit color,
Yeah.
you know, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, that's not a nice thing to say, but it comes out really awful if it's not matched. And I know, so when you're picking your colors, don't pick one like what we have.
Yeah.
It is tough. It's a tough one.
But that can happen with any color palette. Like there can be some light blues that can all of a sudden in print show up so pale or way too bright, or yeah, it can happen with like literally any color palette. So that is why, like, in certain companies you'll have like brand managers, or I like to call them the brand police, where someone is watching all of that stuff and making sure, and that's why you get printer proofs and all of that back as well. I was going to mention too, there is I don't know if any of you have used, but there's the print feature in Canva. So you can actually send away to get postcards printed or business cards or whatever. And I've used it a few times. It's actually reasonable and comparable pricing to local printers, and the quality is great. The only thing that I've seen that has not been great quality was I had a logo printed on for a client of mine, a t-shirt, and the black, it looked gray. And I even sent it back and they're like, oh, okay, we'll fix that. And it came back and it still looked gray. It wasn't like a vivid black. So I don't know what happened there, but yeah. And it was all like, everything was designed in Canva and done. So I don't know if it was just how they print on their t-shirts or what happened, but yeah, that's just it.
No, that's good to know, because I've often struggled with things like that.
Does anyone have any other questions for Sabrina?
I'm curious, the people that are on the call, where you're at in your business. Are you new? Are you just starting?
We've got a small enough group today that, you know, if everybody wants to unmute and take a turn, and we do have a few minutes to chat. Yeah. Who wants to be first?
Yeah, I know.
Ashley, go ahead.
I'm Ashley from Champaign County, and I've been here since beginning of November. Our branding, we're pretty good at it. We just need to tweak something.
Great. What's your business, Ashley?
Champaign County, it's a vacation ranch just east of Saskatoon.
Oh, yes, I've heard of it.
Is anybody else?
Sure, I'll go next. I'm kind of a newbie to this whole thing. I've had a home-based business before, but I am currently looking at buying an existing business, and that's why I was asking those questions. And so it's something that I have a bit of experience in, but their business is like, it's a mom and pop kind of business, and just no marketing, no brand design, anything like that. So I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm gonna have to do a whole overhaul, and I don't even know where to start.
What is the business again? Sorry.
So it's actually a greenhouse and flower shop.
Oh, okay.
Flower shop and gift store. Yeah. So it's a really awesome business, but it's just like, oh man, yeah, it needs some brand direction for sure.
And are you taking it over?
I am, yeah. Yeah, so I'm taking it over from them. Yeah.
Cool. That's exciting. Super
It
exciting.
is. It's very exciting. Yeah. So I've got so many ideas in my head, and I'm like, okay, I got to channel them in the right direction.
And are you changing the name and everything?
No, we're going to stick with the name because it's a very established name.
Yeah.
It's just like the whole presentation of it and everything like that is where we need to find direction. So yeah.
I love it. Yeah. Start with how you want people to feel when they come into your store, when they see your stuff advertised, and how you want them to feel when they go home with your products, and the core values. Start there, who you are and who you are as a business, and then go from there. That would be like number one starting point.
That's super
The
helpful. Thank you.
rest will fall into place. If you
Yeah.
have those nailed down, you're solid.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Welcome.
I guess I'll go next.
Go ahead,
I-
Amanda.
Sorry, I didn't know if it was coming up. I am Amanda. I'm new to this. I'm a licensed optician. My business is called Ageless Optics, and I will be doing optical frame repairs and modifications. So because I'm new at this, I've designed a logo and I'm trying to keep it fairly simple. I picked colors, and I just don't know if I'm ready for a session to really work on my brand quite yet.
Okay.
And that's completely fair.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It definitely seems like a lot of work, so it's a little overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would say doing it in pieces is definitely a good way to kind of go about it. So not feeling like you have to dive into all of it all at once. And like I said, a brand evolves over time. So don't feel like this pressure to lock in, you know, something forever. I think that can also feel very, very overwhelming to people. Like, I have to nail this or else my business is going to flop. It's sometimes just taking, like, you've already done a great job, Amanda, of taking that first step. Like, you've got a color, you've got some colors. Maybe they're not, you know, maybe you love them, or maybe you're kind of like, yeah, they're good for now. And you just take that step forward. That's kind of what I did in my business. Initially, I had this color palette, and then over time, it started to just not feel like it reflected me the best. And so it's just kind of shifted a little bit along the way. And then, yeah, once you start into social media and the different forms of advertising that you do, things can change that way too. But always, 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 well, this is me and my approach, but it is always starts with the core values of who you are. And then from there, everything plugs into that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you. That's really helpful. It's nice to know that what I start out with doesn't have to be locked in.
No, nope. Yeah, definitely not. You don't want to be changing, you know, everything every month or anything like that, but
No.
definitely doesn't have to be locked in forever. And just like you're going to grow as a person, your business is going to grow. Things change over time. Like, you have to keep up with, you know, trends and different things that are happening in your market, and you want your brand to grow with you in that.
Mm-hmm.
Job. That's a cool business, like very niche. I like it.
Thank you. I'm excited to really get started.
Yeah. I have some glasses of my husband's that need to be fixed. They drive me crazy. They're like missing part of the thing on the arm, and like they're
Oh no.
yeah.
Yeah, that's essential. We need it.
Yeah. Do Neve or Nikki or Crystal want to any comments about your business or what you're involved in?
Hi, Crystal here. I'm actually with the Community Futures office, South Central out by Moose Jaw. So I have actually a bit of a marketing background, so always love to sit in on these and see where I can help and always learn something. So thanks for the presentation today.
Great, thanks for joining us.
Welcome.
With
If there's
that,
I have
Yeah.
just one comment. Again, having worked with Sabrina, I tried to do it on my own and probably spent about 20 hours of trying to do it on my own, and then filled out her form, and then I could walk away from it. And so I just want to say that there are some programs out there that there's grants available for individuals who want to work with a brand strategist. So for example, the Entrepreneurs with Disabilities program through Community Futures has a program that you may be able to work with Sabrina or somebody like her if you have a self-declared disability or health condition, And that program covers $750 towards marketing and strategy building such as this. Another program is the Pathways to Entrepreneurship if you are Métis, and that's through the Gabriel Dumont Institute. And they also would cover for you to work with Sabrina or somebody similar, and they would cover that cost as well. So I'm going to just forward you the names of these resources and the links, because I was fortunate enough to actually use both of these grants for my business, and it's unbelievable. If you can get, when you're starting out and you have another organization willing to pay for the experts, it really helps propel things forward in a very fast way. So I'm going to send an email out with Sabrina's contact information, with the resources that I mentioned, as well as a link to the upcoming session. And I actually referred to it by the wrong name earlier. So it's the next one coming up is Implementing Your Brand. So I will include the link for you to register for that as well.
Great. I think with that, I'd just like to say thanks to everybody for joining us. Thanks, Sabrina. And I do know, I think there was a couple email addresses put into the chat. I'll make sure those get forwarded to Sabrina as well. And everyone have a wonderful afternoon. And if you haven't registered for the 1 and 2 weeks, we hope you do, and we hope you'll join us then. Have a great afternoon, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.